Good evening, Mayor. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, April 22nd, 2024 to order. The city strongly recommends that you review tonight's agenda carefully, and if you wish to speak on any item on the agenda, then please bring your comment cards to the clerk as soon as possible. While the Milton rules allow a speaker to turn in their comment card up until the clerk calls the agenda item, once the agenda item is called, no more comment cards can be accepted. Will the city clerk please call the roll and make general announcements?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before I call roll this evening for the April 22nd, 2024 regular meeting, I would like to remind all those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Those attending the meeting who would like to make a public comment, you are required to complete a public comment card and submit to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. All speakers, when asked to come to the podium, will identify themselves with name, address, and organization before beginning their comment. If you are representing an organization, a notarized affidavit is required stating you have the authority to speak on behalf of that organization. If you would like to make a public comment, please bring your cards to me now. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outburst, or dialogue with any person speaking. Anyone in violation will be asked to leave. Mayor and Council, as I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Peyton Jamison.
Here.
Councilmember Andrea Veerhoff.
Here.
Councilmember Doug Haney.
Here.
Councilmember Juliet Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Jan Jacobus.
Present.
And Councilmember Phil Cranmer.
Here.
And for the record, Councilmember Cookerly is absent. Mayor, you have a quorum. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
And next is the approval of the meeting agenda. I have one change, and I'd like to add an executive session to discuss personnel, land acquisition, and potential litigation. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as suggested.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Kramer and a second from Councilmember Verhoff to approve the agenda with the addition of an executive session. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Next is general public comment. Do we have any general public comment?
We do have one, Mayor.
Okay. The next item is general public comment. Public comment is a time for citizens to share information with the mayor and the city council and to provide input and opinions on any matter that is not scheduled for its own public hearing during today's meeting. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card and submit it to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. Please remember this is not a time to engage the mayor or members of the city council in conversation. When your name is called, please come forward and speak into the microphone stating your name and address for the record. You will have 5 minutes for remarks. The city encourages you to review the agenda, and if you wish to speak, to bring your comment cards to the city clerk right now. If you will please call that first speaker.
Mayor, I'd like to invite John Lundstedt to the podium, please.
Good evening, John Lundstedt, 15755 Burdette Court. And I want to talk about active parks just in general. And I'll be pretty short tonight. And I know that the Deerfield property and some other properties are on the agenda tonight in general. And I don't officially speak on behalf of necessarily any organization, but a lot of different sports teams and a lot of people were all working together to try to get this active park thing going. And we know over the last several months, there's been a lot of activities. There was potentially a committee that was put together, but now we have this potential Deerfield property and maybe even the property off of Cox Road. And I just want to say that the community is very excited, especially the community that's involved with these different sports and different activities, to see, hey, we have this potential property. I know there's some due diligence and there's some timing to get it and to look at, is it suitable? But we're all extremely excited to see that this is a potential action, especially now that we head into the summer where these fields are already getting crowded and we're getting overbooked already on the parks that we currently have. So bottom line is just want to say that is an awesome news. I can't wait to hear and see what we're doing with our property. And thank you very much for putting all that time and effort into it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any more public comment?
That concludes general public comment, Mayor.
Okay, I will close public comment and I will move on to the consent agenda. Will the city clerk please sound the items?
Mayor, that first item A is approval of the April 8th, 2024 regular city council meeting minutes, agenda item number 24124. B is approval of the April 15th, 2024 work session meeting minutes, Agenda item number 24125. C is approval of a task order number 3 with Columbia Engineering and Services, Inc. for pre-acquisition services for the Cox Road intersections. Agenda item number 24126. D is approval of a change order number 1 to a task order between the City of Milton and BM&K PC for right-of-way acquisition services for Bethany Road at Providence Road Roundabout Project. Agenda item number 24127. E is approval of a letter of agreement with AT&T for utility relocation required on 13801 Birmingham Highway for the construction of Fire Station 45. It's agenda item number 24128. F is approval of subdivision plats and revisions. The first development is Lot 6, the lake at North Valley at 2000 Long Hollow Lane. It's land lot 478, District 2, Section 2. It's a minor plat to subdivide the parcel into 2 large tracts with a total of 11.07 acres and a density of 0.18 lots per acre. Our second development is Carlo and Lisa Dominguez, 16023 Manor Club Court, land lot 323, District 2, Section 2, a minor plat to combine 2 parcels into 1 legal lot of record. It's a total of 3.414 acres with no density. I don't have that there, sorry. And then we have our third development. It's Kishore Rajendran. It's Freemanville Road, land lot 844, District 2, Section 2, a minor plat to subdivide the parcel into 2 lots, a total of 2.37 acres with a density of 0.84 lots per acre. Agenda item number 24129. Mayor Jamison?
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Haney and a second from Councilmember Jacobus to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Move on to reports and presentations. Will the city clerk please sound the items?
Mayor, that item is, bear with me, I'm sorry. That first item is going to be under reports and presentation. It's a proclamation recognizing April 22nd as Earth Day in Milton, Georgia. Mayor Jamison?
Thank you. So every year, the city recognizes Earth Day with a proclamation to show our support in protecting the environment. I'm going to read this proclamation. I know we have members of our sustainability committee here, and so after I read the proclamation, we'll come up and take a group picture. This proclamation recognizes April 22nd as Earth Day in Milton. Whereas enjoying, protecting, and promoting responsible stewardship of the environment is critically important for our community as well as for the world at large. And whereas this spirit inspired the creation of Earth Day, which was first recognized in the United States on April 22nd, 1970, and globally 2 decades later. And whereas Earth Day is a time for reflection, connections to nature, and action, as demonstrated last weekend with volunteer cleanups at Birmingham Park and Bell Memorial Park, as well as bulky waste amnesty drop-off at Providence Park. And whereas these were among several activities during Earth Week, which also included the launch of a junior ranger program, tree care class, and guided birdwalk. And whereas the people of Milton show their commitment to our environment every day of the year, in fact, by minimizing pollution, recycling plastics, paper, and other materials, planting trees, and much more. And whereas the city government also supports this critical cause by running sustainability events, conserving green space, providing a glass collection site, and educating the public on the ways they can nurture wildlife. And whereas for the past 11 years, the city of Milton has been a National Wildlife Federation certified community wildlife habitat and is also a silver level green community as designated by the Atlanta Regional Commission. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, hereby recognize and proclaim April 22nd, 2024 as Earth Day and urge citizens to celebrate efforts to protect our planet to make Milton an even better place to live, work, and raise a family. And further, we urge all citizens to commit to doing what they can to foster cleaner and greener environments for the betterment of current and future generations. And this is given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia on this 22nd day of April of 2024. So with that, I'll invite y'all to come on up and we'll take a picture. Thank you.
Stand up. Let's see. Oh, yeah.
Derailed by Tammy.
Chatty, chatty.
Actually, you know what? Wait, can you get on that side? I don't think that works. Perfect. Scoot over. I'm ready on 3. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Do you want one? Actually, wait.
I'll take off something.
I'm like, it's all off kilter. There we go.
Thanks, y'all.
And we really want to.
Thanks, guys.
We're supposed to choose something.
Okay, if the city clerk will please sound the next presentation.
Mayor, that next proclamation is a proclamation recognizing April the 21st through April the 27th as Georgia Cities Week here in Milton. Mayor Jameson?
Thank you. So this week honors the contributions of Georgia cities, with cities sharing information about services provided to residents and how cities operate. This is something the city does every year, and it's a wonderful job for our citizens to kind of get out and look at what the city does. We have outstanding employees in every department, and we do have wonderful citizens that continue to engage in our city that make us an even better place to live. So with that, I will read this proclamation, which recognizes April 21st through 27th as Georgia Cities Week in Milton. Whereas the city of Milton recognizes its important responsibility to serve citizens and do what we can to positively impact our community. And whereas the Georgia Municipal Association designates 1 week annually to showcase how governments like ours in Milton makes a difference, with the 2024 theme being Soaring to New Heights. And whereas Milton will celebrate Georgia Cities Week with special opportunities to engage, inform, and interact with the public. And whereas these include a guided hike at Lakapani Preserve, tours of City Hall, and a Chillin' with the Chiefs event at which people can mingle with leaders from our police and fire departments. And whereas these activities build off city employees' commitment to go above and beyond to listen to, respond to, collaborate with citizens, and whereas we see such public service as a responsibility and a privilege, especially in the strong, vibrant, supportive community that we have here in Milton. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, recognize this week as Georgia Cities Week and embrace this opportunity to strengthen the relationship between our government and its citizens. This is given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on this 22nd day of April of 2024. So thank you. I know we have some city employees here. If y'all will come up and do a picture.
And I know who you all are, so employees.
No, I don't get to be. No, that would be dangerous. I was like, you'd see up my nose selfie. That's what it would be. Exactly. I need longer arms. So, okay. No, we need people left. Big fruit. I can't. I don't. Well, Tammy should do it. Tammy, do you want to do a selfie after this? Yes. Okay, here. I'll get in that one.
Maybe one of the audience people can do it.
Oh, we want someone. Volunteers?
John, come on up. We need your help.
Well, no, that's
All right, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, come check it and make sure it works.
Okay, we will move on to the next reports and presentations item. Will the city clerk please sound that item?
Mayor, that is item C, the Deerfield Implementation Plan Overview. That's our Community Development Director, Bobby Shenny.
This one. I'll just sit there. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before we start to look at the PowerPoint, I just wanted to provide a brief overview. I wanted to discuss the implementation and vision needed for Deerfield. Based on the feedback we've received from council throughout our planning and budgeting process, Deerfield is a vital area for the city of Milton. It needs to become the economic engine for the city's future sustainability. It is a large area that contains a diversity of uses and was recently identified by council to be within the city's urban growth boundary. Most of Deerfield, with the exception of a few standalone developments, was constructed prior to the city's creation. It currently lacks the special Milton character, placemaking, and walkability. Almost all the commercial office space is vacant. In order to remedy this, there needs to be a comprehensive implementation plan to revitalize and create a Milton identity. Tonight, I would like to describe how we strengthen this area to become Milton-esque and the plan needed to get there, as I truly believe the potential for Deerfield is great. And what steps do we need to do to activate this potential? Just to note, some of the elements at a high level would include roads and the importance of the character of those roads, landscaping, pathways, the architecture, and the massing of the final built environment. Understanding how people interact and respond with that built environment is very important. We have, over the last several months, been receiving much interest from the business community, landowners, and the community at large to discuss both public and private capital to improve this area. We will need a plan that will contain detailed site-specific graphics, 3D modeling, landscaping, building architecture, signage, and integrated fly-through videos. This will serve twofold. One, it will provide the city with a visual image of the final built environment, and also will serve as a tool to the business community and the citizens as a guide to what the city ultimately is looking to implement. My PowerPoint will overview the steps needed to get there. We have prepared and advertised an RFP to engage a consulting firm to assist the city in expressing the end vision. So now we'll look at the PowerPoint. Okay, so the statement, what happened here? Okay, can you see it? Is that, oh, mine's cutting out. Okay, statement of intent is to prepare an implementation plan for the Deerfield District. The project goals, there's three main project goals: shaping a unique identity for the area, creating a livable community, and preparing the district for a sustainable economic future. Those are real high-level goals. Some background. The study area encompasses the regulating plan for the Deerfield form-based code. So on the right, you're seeing that regulating plan. It's mostly the form-based code, which is the center. It goes all the way up to Forsyth County and all the way down into Alpharetta. Much of the study area was originally built before the formation of the city in 2006. The city has adopted several plans, including an LCI study, small area plans, and strategic plans. So just some background on all the things we've done in Deerfield since the city's creation. In 2012, we had the LCI study performed. In 2013 and 2014, we did it in two parts. We developed the Deerfield form-based code. In 2019, we had the comprehensive park and recreation master plan adopted. In 2020, we did the Milton Community Trail Plan. In 2023, council approved the urban growth boundary. Now, tonight, and at last week's meeting that you had, working meeting, you were looking at this Windward Parkway and Highway 9 joint study with Alpharetta. We did the green print in 2023, the land on Webb Road. We did the Big Creek Greenway connection, which is underway. We did the Highway 9 road widening project, which is currently underway. The McGinnis Ferry interchange, which is funded and underway. And the bus rapid transit, which is ongoing as well. That runs up 400. And then in 2024, we also did the branding study. And now we're starting the wayfinding signage plan. So all of those plans have been done, created over the years. And this plan will integrate all of those and say, okay, now let's see what it looks like visually. Let's put them all together and do the architecture, do everything else that I spoke about, and put it all together so we have this 3D visual model of exactly what this is going to look like. So these are the adopted plans and studies, just so you get an idea. All right. When the city was established, they categorized the study area into two different character areas. The lower part in the south is more the Deerfield, and then north of Bethany Bend is the Bethany character area. Now, some proposed project sites that are currently coming in and people are discussing, so the council gets an idea of where we are here. We have 10 project sites. We have 5 that are new greenfield, and then we have 5 that are redevelopment. So you have Stone Creek Church is coming in. That's almost 49 acres. We have 10 acres across from Stone Creek Church, which is, I'll show you the map in a minute. We have the Crescent property, which the city just recently is looking to acquire as parkland. It's 21 acres. We have property that's adjacent to our only hotel in the city. It's 10 acres. And then we have 13560 Morris Road, which is almost 67 acres. And we have the Target Shopping Center, which is 51 acres. We have Fry's, which is 17. Verizon, which in the past has never really expressed any interest in doing anything. And now they're coming to the table and calling me and saying, Bob, we really want to look at it. We have new management. We're looking to do something with it. Can you sit down and figure out what we need to do there? And they have some vacant property there with all those office buildings that are vacant. So they're looking to fill those. We have Morris and Webb, 25 acres. And we have the old City Hall site, believe it or not, it's 17 acres. And they're coming in expressing interest as well. So when you look at it, we have a total of 320 acres of development. That's a sizable piece of property there. And then if you look at the map on the left, you'll see where these are, starting on the north, and that's the Stone Creek. And then you have the 10 acres, which is just on the just south of that. Then you have the Target Shopping Center. Then we have Crescent and Fry's. You have the 10 acres next to the hotel. You have the Verizon site here. We have the H building, which is the JLL site. That's the 67 acres. Oops, sorry, 67 acres. And then we have the Morris and Webb at 25 acres. And I didn't even highlight the old City Hall site on this particular map, but that's in there as well. And then on the right, you'll see now some people, these developers and landowners are starting to come in with some pictures and renderings and things that they would like to see. And the reason this is so important is because there's a lot of dynamics going on right now. Almost all of these landowners are coming in individually with their own thoughts and ideas, and they're starting to express it graphically with these developments. And I think this study is really going to take all of these ideas and put them together and say, what does this look like? So we don't bring it to council with just one individual land property at a time. We sort of bring it together as this big plan and say, this is what we'd like to see. This is how this fits in. Because as you could see, the 10 acres on the bottom of the page. And if we keep going, this is the 67 acres that's on Morris. Then we have these are the two office towers, the 5-story office towers, both primarily are vacant right now. And so the landowner came up and expressed a lot of interest in saying, all right, what do we need to do? And everybody's looking to say, well, what exactly does the city want? You know, like if we're coming in with our designs, if you have some other ideas, guide us, tell us what we would like, because I don't think any landowner really wants to go through all of this and then say, no, the council doesn't like it or it doesn't work. They're putting a lot of investment in here, so they sort of want some reassurance when they go to do this. So it really works both ways, right? The city wants to know what is it all going to look like so that we have that vision and we feel comfortable. But the landowners also want to know, what is it going to take? What can we do where the city will say, yes, we'll embrace it. So they don't have to break down brick walls to try to get it, because it is a big investment for them to do it. I think it works on both sides, which are a real win-win. These are some of the current developments. Remember, I talked about these standalone lots. The one on the left was an existing car wash we redid. The one on the right was an existing building as well, and we made it into a Caribou Coffee. And then the left picture is actually the Wendy's that was there next to Publix, and that came in. And then on the right, that's a brand new building. That's the 123 Total Fitness. So that'll be a brand new structure that's going up there. Actually came out quite nice. I like it. I think it's going to be a good addition. And then you have the Pike Nursery, which is in there. And then the Aldi Shopping Center, we redid most of those buildings in there as well. And then the extra space storage on Webb. I think they did a really good job on it. So whatever, I'm showing these because they're small standalones, but whatever was done there, I think was done in keeping with Milton's character and quality. And all of these developers that own these properties now are extremely happy. Even this self-storage, he says he's booked for 5 years. He's very happy. We made him put a lot into it, but he said the return was great. So I think it's good because it shows future developers that they can raise the bar, put a lot more money in than other cities might demand or counties, but at the end of the day, they'll get a good result out of it. This is Deerfield Dentistry on the left, and then the Jim and Nick's was an existing building, and we renovated that one as well. And the public safety complex we did, which I think is a great addition. I was very happy that the city decided to put that in the Deerfield area. I think it's a great addition to Deerfield. So the scope of the work and what the consultants are going to end up helping me on. We broke it up into 3 phases. We have a concept plan and elements. We have a design and development, and we have the final implementation. And I think what's important here, again, is this is very dynamic. So even though we've laid out these phases, I don't foresee everything getting done and then saying, okay, now we'll release, let's get going. Highway 9 is already underway. There's developments that are coming in. Tomorrow I have a meeting with some folks for Stone Creek, and they're like, we're ready to submit. So I think the key here is this is the dynamic of it all, is that on some of these items, when we're doing the study, I might accelerate a couple of the items and say, hey, we got to do phase 1, 2, and 3 as fast as we can to help this developer to get it in and to kind of fit it into the big picture. So I don't see it all happening and then development starting. I see it kind of working concurrently and things going on. We might need to do some code revisions. We might need to look at this. So it's sort of it's kind of complex because of those dynamics. I think when you do other studies, when cities do studies and they do these master plans, they kind of do them. And then at the end, they say, okay, now we've adopted it. Now let's go in. And we've done that even down here with with Crabapple. We actually did the master plan, and then we said, okay, now let's start developing. We did that now in Mayfield District, right? We did the plan. Now, all of a sudden, I have a meeting with them tomorrow too. They're coming in for some pieces that they own, and they want to have a meeting with me. But we've done the plan, and then they're coming in. But in Deerfield, it's sort of different. And that's why it's so complex. It's kind of like dynamic, I call it. It's all happening at once. So we have to sort of like fast track some things and slow some things down. At the end of the day, we will have this master plan and all the puzzles. But I foresee some pieces getting done along the way, and we have to make sure we kind of look at those holistically to make sure that they fit into the vision of Milton to get it Milton-esque, especially with the GDOT Highway 9. I think it's already let, and I think we have to kind of run after that train a little bit and catch up to it and see what we can do to kind of come up with some new ideas to make that look as a nicer character. And I think we're starting to look at that. And between me and Sarah, I think we're going to do really good with trying to come up with some dynamic ideas. Okay, so phase one is the conceptual plan. We're going to review, of course, all the existing studies and current developments and the existing form-based code. Now, you have to remember when we implemented form-based code, the beauty of form-based code was that the developer had the reassurance that they could develop and they didn't have to come in for a rezoning. So that's why form-based code is so popular, right? That's what happened. You like downtown here in Crabapple, they came in, they developed, they don't have to keep coming before council saying, oh, we need to rezone. Can you give us an approval? The whole idea of form-based code is that it's thought of, it's developed, and then the developer can just come in and start working without having to go for rezonings. So we're going to be looking at the existing form-based code and see what's good with it. It's a little different in Deerfield than it is in Crabapple. And there's some elements that we have in the Crabapple form-based code that really induced a lot of development down here, like, say, parking garages. We give some density for parking garages, and everybody took advantage of it, and they built their own parking structures. So the city originally did a plan to build a centralized city-owned parking structure. And we quickly realized that the cost of the land, the cost of the building, and the maintenance of it is just astronomical. So we said, well, what could we do to incentivize the private developers to do it? So sort of the same thing we did with 3-acre lots. We have so many, I just got another 30 acres come in, and they said, we convinced them to do 3-acre lots. And I told Steve, I ran upstairs and I'm like, Steve, we got another one. I'm always proud when we get them. And he looked at me, he goes, Bob, I think the incentives that the council has approved are shown to be working and successful. And I was really, that was a nice statement, because I think that is truly the case. It's hard for me to sell something if I don't have something to sell, but all of those things. So it's the same thing here. Building uses, mixed use is coming up very often. I think we really have to look at mixed use. What does that mean? What mixed use formulas do we like? What are the percentages? So I'll be in front of council discussing those in detail. Parks, roads, trails, all with the Milton style. So I'll be working with all the departments to make sure that we maintain everything that we do with that Milton-esque style. Because even though we have a parks plan, we really need to make sure that we show in the plan exactly what we want it to be. The signage, everything has to be kind of that Milton-esque look, so that we start implementing that. And of course, everything will have a lot of public participation, charrettes, meetings, going in front of design review board, planning commission, and council multiple times. I did give everybody a copy of the RFP so you could see how many we put it in there, that we want multiple meetings. And then phase two is the aerial 3D models, which I think most people really like seeing. Street views, landscape trails. This is where the real coloring and the pictures and the dynamics of it all come in. Street rendering, civic spaces, how that's all going to look. And I think a lot of people really want to see that graphic. It's hard for me to just sit here and talk about Milton-esque. I think you really want to see what it's ultimately going to look like. And it's kind of good because I'm already starting to discuss with these landowners the possibilities of putting maybe a linear park along Highway 9, which means that the private landowner would have to give up 30, 40 feet of his property to move the sidewalks into those developments so that we could have lights and benches and all the elements that council's been asking me, why don't we have these in the Highway 9 district? So if there are things that GDOT says are impossible, I'm looking for ideas to kind of shift that makeup so that we still have it along the corridor and everything starts to really gel and look nice. And so far, all the landowners are pretty excited about it. So it's hard for somebody to just give up 45 feet of their property, but if you show them that it's really going to look nice and that whole corridor will have like a linear park with pocket parks along the linear park, everything that council's been talking about, I've been broaching with the developers and landowners and they've all been pretty excited. I've been doing some graphics to show them how it would look, how it would benefit their developments. So in this phase, you'll see a lot of that, and including things like stormwater detention, which nobody likes to talk about, but it is necessary when you have development occurring. Drainage basins, civic spaces, branding, public arts, trees, things like that. Even public art. We introduced some public art on the green, and I think it's a nice touch. It really looks nice. I mean, it's not a whole lot of public art, but we started to do some wall graphics down here, and I think those look nice. We restored the apple on the corner building, the paint on the wall. So it's little things we did put a lot into public art, and I think Deerfield needs some public art presence as well. And then, of course, the improvements and placemaking, building out scenarios, and something that we're calling an urban design manual. So it's sort of a manual that kind of shows a developer, look, to some extent we like this, but we definitely don't want this. So we can show pictures and say, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. So when somebody comes in and staff is reviewing it, they could look at the manual, and that's not code, but it's a manual. It sort of tells them, look, this is good and this isn't. Okay. And then, of course, public participation. And then phase 3, this is where we're doing the final implementation plan. This is where you're going to see the modeling and video fly-throughs. And again, a strong public participation. If you look at the bottom, the green is say architectural details, landscaping, building elevations, actually seeing visually what these buildings are going to look like, the height of them, the windows, the fenestrations, the roof, flat roofs, pitched roofs. What is the style that we're looking for along the corridors? Set of recommendations for the streetscape improvement. I'm working on that already. Set of recommendations for the enhancements of the form-based code, so whatever we have to do to change it. Strategies for infrastructure investment for future growth, and any recommendations for future road networking, because we do have new roads going in, and we have a lot of development going on around us. Alpharetta is doing a lot of development. Forsyth County is doing development. They're looking at an arena. They're doing all of these things. How does all of those things come into play? I don't want Milton just to be a drive-through, where people go, oh, wait, I'm going to go from Alpharetta. I want to go to Forsyth County. I'm just driving through. Because one way or the other, the traffic will be there. They'll either cut through it or they'll drive through it to shop and use our services. So it's kind of nice to take that all into account. And then, of course, the final implementation plan with all the public participation that would be there. I can't stress that enough. We'll be doing tons of public participation. And then just to show you the schedule of events, we've issued the RFP already, April 11th. Proposals are due on May 13th. And then we have to review them and award and negotiate that award. So that will be about mid-June. So we should have the consulting team on mid-June. Doesn't mean that we're going to wait till mid-June, because things are dynamic and things are coming in, and I'm working as hard as I can. It would be nice to get them on sooner, because it'll probably help me out a lot. But I just want to reassure the council that even between now and mid-June, we're working day and night to try to just keep up with what's coming in the door. Any questions?
Any questions for Bob? Councilman Kramer?
Yeah, Bob, great presentation. Thank you. 2 questions. One, GDOT. I heard the reference, the train has sort of left the station. To what extent do we know how definitive their plans are along Highway 9? Is it still fluid? Do they not even have finalized plans, or is it pretty much set in stone at this point? I know we're getting some community feedback on where these boundaries are and the like. How much of that is well-known and established and decided on versus is there still room to negotiate with GDOT?
No, but is Sarah here? And yeah, maybe you can.
Because I assume a lot of that is going to feed
Of
into,
course, I'm going to
right?
say, we're going to go down and talk to GDOT, and it's my belief that we still have some room there, but she knows the contract more than I do, so.
So the plans are final from the design side of GDOT. And once it moves into construction, we did have had past successes working out some minor changes with the construction group rather than the design group.
Okay.
So that's what we anticipate and hope to do through this, is to get some ideas of things we can present to them as field changes. The plans are finalized, but we're hoping that we take another look at them and see things that are within the footprint that don't impact the utility of the roadway itself that we can bring to the table.
Got it.
Yeah.
Savvy.
So when I discussed it with Sarah, and I guess you can just take it from there, we came up with like 3 different scenarios that might be applied for GDOT. One is we can wait for them to finish. There's just 3. Doesn't mean that we're doing any one of the 3. We can do all 3. We can wait for them to finish, and then we can go back and do some improvements. We can negotiate with them to have their contractor do the improvements, and then we issue, say, a change order or whatever we need to do to get that to happen. Or we can go in and hire a firm to do some of the improvements ourselves, right? There's like 3 different paths that are option for us to take.
Okay.
So it's not just one. I don't want to look at GDOT and just say, oh, geez, I'm kind of beholden to whatever they're doing. I mean, the city does have some other options that we can do.
Okay.
To do. And I'm thinking it's going to be probably all 3 to some degree.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
sit down
Okay.
with them and say, okay, you can do this, and maybe, the construction team, maybe we can get something for them to do. And then at the end, we could turn around and say, okay, we could do some improvements. When we did Heritage, they came in and they did some of the work. And then after they were done, we came back and did some more of the work. They did turn that road over to us, right? So it made it a little easier. They're not turning over Highway 9 to us, but it's still an option. We can look at all of those options.
All right. We have options. One last question on the timeline. From the point you award the RFP, what do you think, high level, the timeline to implement all 3 steps would be?
Minimum 12 months.
12 months.
Yeah, I was thinking more like 12 to 18 total
Okay.
to have it. But again, that's what I was trying to say. It's so dynamic that we're not waiting 18 months to do any of this. We're already starting before we even have the consultant on board.
Right.
I'm already full steam and going and getting all of this stuff done. And we're making meetings with GDOT. And we're making meetings with all the landowners. We're not waiting for the consultant to do this. I'm not waiting 18 months to say, okay, then we have the plan. Now let's execute it. It's going to be something that's super dynamic. We're going to be doing this concurrent. It's not done very often that way.
Yeah.
Almost every city does the plan and then says, okay, now execute it. This is really going to be a very integrated dynamic plan. So I might be coming to council very often saying, hey, listen, we have some things we need or items that you need to review and look at. What do you think? Give me feedback, so that we're constantly engaged to kind of do this. So we might be jumping around a little bit, but overall, you'll have those 3 main elements.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Bob? Thank you, Bob. I know this is just the first step of many along the
Yes.
process, so thank
Thank
you. Okay, there are no first presentation items. Moving on to the public hearing, will the city clerk please sound the item?
That first item is consideration of a resolution authorizing the transmittal of a draft capital improvement elements amendment to the Atlanta Regional Commission for regional and state review. It's agenda item number 24130, Community Development Planner Jackie Lim.
Hey, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we're presenting the Draft Capital Improvements Element Amendment, or CIE, for public hearing, and also present to you a resolution authorizing the transmittal of the draft CIE for your consideration. So tonight's objectives, we have two. First is to present the draft CIE amendment. We will touch briefly on the purpose and the process of the CIE, the purpose of this public hearing, and then department heads will come in to talk about their respective public's projects for the new CIE project list. And then following their presentation, we are going to do some historical perspective just to give you what is the 2015 CIE project list, and then share you some revenue table and how is impact fee allocated. And then the second objective is to seek your approval of the resolution authorizing the transmittal of the draft CIE amendment. For the purpose of the CIE, in order for a community to collect impact fees from new development as a funding source to help pay for future public facilities, it must have an adopted CIE. The city CIE was adopted in 2015 and is also part of the Milton's comprehensive plan. The city CIE identifies long-range needs for parks, fire, police, and road improvements. And the proposed CIE amendment tonight will update this list of needs. However, it will not address the changes on the impact fee themselves. So that is a different topic that we're going to discuss next month. The process for amending a CIE is prescribed by Georgia Department of Community Affairs, as shown in this flow chart. It includes a public hearing on the draft CIE amendment. Then City Council authorizes transmittal to DCA, and there's a 45-day review period that DCA and ARC will do. Once that's done, the document comes back to us for local adoption. So the purpose of this public hearing is to receive any public input on the draft CIE, which, as mentioned, addresses police, park, fire, and road improvements needed to serve growth over the next 20 years. The list of this project improvements is based on the following approach: adding more of the existing facilities that are already in place, such as playgrounds and fire trucks, using adopted plans and budget. Also, it incorporates department heads' input on local needs. This table summarizes the impact fee eligible project types in the city's CIE. So eligible facilities are limited to capital items having a life expectancy of at least 10 years, such as land, buildings, and certain vehicles. So future public facilities are intended to allow new residents to benefit from the same level of services provided to current residents. So I'd like to turn over the presentation to department heads to present their respective CIE projects, beginning with the police department. We have Chief Chris Ward.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here on behalf of Chief Griffin. He sends his regards from training. So for the police department, with long-term projects, sometimes those become limited. So we look at what long-term things we could do. The first one on the list, as you'll see, is the police headquarters build out. When we built the public safety complex, there was approximately 2,600 square feet of unfinished area left for future growth, this exact purpose. So we put that on the list, and that's probably one of our goals for sooner rather than later as we are rapidly growing. The second one that you see on the list is the specialized vehicle. What that is a traffic response vehicle. With the increase of traffic, we currently have a vehicle. It's old and kind of run down, and we frequently use it to block roadways, respond to traffic accidents, trees across the roadway, power lines, stuff like that. So basically what that does is it deploys out and has additional cones, signs, and additional equipment that those officers can use during road closures. And then the third one is the future building expansion, and that is far down the road. That is once the public safety complex is built completely out and there's a need for even more growth in the police department, looking at an additional facility somewhere else within the city. Those are our three projects.
Any questions? Nope. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Chief Alex.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. With the expected day-night population growth to 2045, it's estimated 18,000 people. This equates to a service demand on our fire services, EMS services, to which we've included Fire Station 45, which is 100% impact fee eligible, as well as a support vehicle. Looking further into the future, in 2030, they have identified a few fire apparatuses as well as support vehicles. Some of these are 100% funded based on the population increase to 2045. Others are a percentage of. What you see in that table there? Questions?
Any questions?
I have one question. When we look at vehicles, apparatus that are years out like that, do we factor in any potential inflation and what that, I mean, that might be the cost of the vehicle today. That's not what it's going to cost them. Are we
No, of course.
limiting the amount of funding that could be put towards it by not grossing it up by some CPI?
So this is a very loose estimate, only based on population, not based on, boots on the ground, service delivery, call volume, things that really come into play, right? So yes, apparatus are taken into account, the cost. We've got a great apparatus replacement plan. So those factors are covered in that sense.
And just to add one little thing to that, this entire study will set a percentage that is authorized to be used from the impact fees, and regardless of if the cost changes, that percentage won't change.
Got it.
So we could still use, say it comes out to 44%, 44% of the new cost would be able to be eligible.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What you see here is a list of elements or components that are impact fee eligible for parks. The list is a bit unique because they're not really tied to a specific location or project due to their nature. These particular components are impact fee eligible when the project arises. If impact fee funding is available within parks, it can be utilized to construct any of these park amenities. I'm not going to read through this entire list. However, impact fees can be utilized for land acquisition, ball fields, tennis courts, playgrounds, trails, and even infrastructure such as restrooms and parking spaces now. I can elaborate. on
Any questions for Tom? So I think, Tom, this is something that we're not necessarily going to do. It's just that we could use funds to do this if a future council wants to do that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions for Tom? Nope. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
All right, I think we've got a big list here of roadway projects, and luckily the timing of this, we have just gone through the comprehensive transportation plan in 2023, and that was adopted in late 23. So that really set up these capacity adding projects. And what we look at to determine what those projects are is we look at the population growth, we look at the growth outside of the city of Milton that's going to travel through Milton, and we look at what intersections, what roadways are going to be possibly impacted by that over the next 20 plus years. So this first slide is some of our more immediately programmed projects. A lot of these are identified for T-SPLOST already. And then we have some that have other funding sources. We've estimated GDOT or federal funding could contribute to some of the others. But this first slide is, again, things we already have. Most of these are already underway in some phase. Slide 2, this is more of our next set of priorities. So likely in a third T-SPLOST or further down the line, these would be some of the projects we would look at. Some are intersections, some are corridors, turn lanes, or just things that would improve operations on the roadways due to growth. And last slide is the longer range projects that were even further out, but that are still identified as potential projects. So I can go back to any of these, but these come directly from other planning documents like the CTP and other small area plans. Any questions?
Any questions for Sarah? Nope. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mayor and Council, here is the summary of the 2015 CIE impact fee eligible projects. Just going to highlight some of these. So projects highlighted or with check marks indicated it's completed, and then the ones that are highlighted in yellow gold are the ones that have not been completed and are going to be carried forward or over to the new CIE list. So Law Enforcement Center, which is one of the buildings in public safety complex, because we have Fire Station 42 replacement, Thompson Road. Fire Station 45 is still underway. There's already a planning and design that have been presented to you, as well as design review board. And then as for the fire apparatus, 4 of that has been purchased, and for support vehicle, 3 out of 7. So I just wanted to say that for park land acquisitions, out of that 455 acres, 67.5 acres have been purchased using the impact fees. Then for roads, same thing. Projects with check, they've already been completed, and the rest will be forwarded to the new CIE list. Some of these are like phase 2, like 2 phases projects. So phase 1 has been completed. Their phase 2 is going to be underway. And for this slide, this table summarizes the impact fees collected since 2016. The top rows just show the actuals for fiscal year 2016 to 2023, and we have 2024 to the right side, but that is the actual as of February 16. In the green box, this just simply shows the type of funds. You have the administration fund, law enforcement, fire, road, and park, and how much dollars have been allocated for each of this fund. And then you have down is the total revenue. And we can go back to this slide if you have any questions. All right. So Chapter 25 of the city ordinance outlines the maximum impact fee schedule. This was adopted in 2015. The current, as a reminder, the CIE has nothing to do with the actual fees that can be collected. Instead, the fee schedule will be addressed in our next meeting, which is going to be the topic at the next month's work session and future public hearings. But as part of the overall historical perspective, this slide shows how the current fee for a single-family house is allocated. We're going to use this single-family detached housing. This is the most common development that's happening in Milton. And we're collecting $7,757.85 per dwelling, not per square footage, so it's for dwelling. It's different with commercial buildings. You know, you collect them by square foot. So let's say 20,000 square foot building, you multiply it with whatever amount, then that's the impact fee that they are paying the city. So at the bottom, I show you the breakdown, the allocation of that amount. So a lot of it goes to park, and then there's a 3% for the administration. So the administration actually pays for like the preparation of the annual CIE fee, document that we do every year, and for this project that we're doing. So that administration fee goes to this. And then, so also to the right, it shows the allocation and percentage. Parks get about 80% of the impact fee because one of the projects listed related to land acquisition. As no land is very expensive. And as noted earlier, 67.5 acres were purchased using the impact fees. And which is, you know, it's not a surprise in most Georgia communities, it's always parks. The park category ended to have, you know, more allocation or the highest adopted fee. So therefore, the largest percentage of the total fee. So this concludes my presentation for the CIE for public hearing. If you have any question, we have Paige Hatley, who's our consultant, who'll, you know, answer some technical questions. And of course, our department heads are still here if you have any question about projects.
Any questions for Jackie? that historical perspective was really interesting to see in
Okay.
2015
Yes.
what was done over the years. So
Yes.
it was great. Do you have any public comment, Tammy?
We do not, sir.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion on this agenda item?
Make a
Motion, we approve agenda item number 24-130.
second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Cranmer to approve agenda item number 24-130. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. There are no zoning agenda or unfinished business items. Moving on to new business, will the city clerk please sound the items?
Mayor, that first item A is Windward Highway 9 Area Strategic Master Plan, agenda item number 24137, presented by our Economic Development Manager, Ms. Anita Jupin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. During last week's work session, you all heard a presentation on the Windward Parkway Highway 9 Area Study from Luis Calvo and Ben Kern, our partners at MKSK. This study was undertaken by the City of Milton in partnership with the City of Alpharetta and True North 400. I'd like to extend my appreciation tonight to Alex Battle from True North and Lance Morcell from the City of Alpharetta, along with Luis Calvo from MKSK for joining us again tonight. This evening, we are simply looking for a vote by resolution to adopt this study, which will serve as a guide for future planning in the district. Short and sweet. I don't have a presentation tonight.
Nope, we did that last.
And we
last
appreciate
meeting.
that.
Any questions for Anita? Nope.
Nope.
Any public comment?
There are none.
Okay, thank you. I'll close public comment and I'll open it for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 24-137.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Haney, a second from Councilmember Johnson to approve agenda item number 24-137. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, will the city clerk please sound the next item?
Item B is consideration of a resolution to adopt a policy and procedure for disposition of small or narrow strips of land. Agenda item number 24131, our Public Works Director, Ms. Sarah Leaders.
All right, good evening again. So the purpose of this item is to establish a policy for how we dispose of surplus right-of-way, land, or easements. This refers to only small or narrow strips of land, and we're looking at those that were either purchased by or donated to the City of Milton, where such sale or conveyance facilitate the enjoyment of the highest and best use to the abutting property owners. And this policy will ensure that we're applying consistency when determining what's applicable and processing these requests. Because it involves where there's council action, that's why this item is before you tonight. So there's certain state code that regulates for how we dispose of surplus right-of-way, and then there's another section that talks about generally narrow strips of land. We also have a section in our city code that talks about disposition of land, and this is the fourth component of how we move forward, and it's this policy and procedures for uniformity. So the policy contains a definition of requested area, so it's either going to be a current parcel or it could be something that's proposed to be separated from a larger parcel, like we've discussed at some of the green spaces, possibly buffering some of the existing property owners from the city used, like the green space, like we've talked about at the Milton City Park and Reserve. The type of request, we'll look at that next to ensure that it is consistent with the definition of small or narrow strip of land. And that's really looking at the shape and the size to make sure it can't be used independently, that it really has no function. We want to make sure it's not used as a street or a future interparcel connection that would follow the roadway abandonment and not under this policy. And then that it's not necessary for any facility or function of the city-owned property. For example, at Milton City Park and Preserve, if we had a section of property we had planned to put a trail through, it wouldn't be eligible to be disposed of because it has a use for that. And lastly, a requirement is that it should not, may not increase the owner's parcel to change usage. That means if If a adjoining owner has 1.8 acres and this would put them over 2 acres and they could then subdivide, that wouldn't be an eligible application. Here's a couple examples of what this could look like. We have disposed of one property since I've been with the city for 17 years, and that's the example on the left. And this was categorized as surplus right-of-way. So when we were doing the roundabout project, purchased this entire area outlined in red, but really only needed the portion that really supports the roadway. So we disposed of the blue property. We sold it to the adjacent owner to make their parcel a little more uniformly shaped. The two on the right could be adjoining. One of these is an example of MCPP, where the lot was shaped a little differently, given that it was a golf course, and now that it's not. A property owner in this top graphic may want to purchase a triangle shape to square off their lot. We have had a couple of those requests. So by getting this policy in place now, we can move forward with those requests now that we have the steps and that this SOP will lay out. And the bottom example is if a property wanted to be buffered from the green space, they could request a narrow strip on any of the frontages that the city property would front. The SOP lays out how we determine value. First of all, if there's an existing tax parcel, we would look at that current taxed appraised value to determine what the value is. If we purchased the land less than a year prior, we could use the same value that we paid for the land. If it was donated, we would not associate value with that disposition, assuming it's going to the same landowner that donated it. And then if there's any question on these not meeting the applicability, we can always require an appraisal if it's not on an identified tax parcel, or there could be other circumstances where an appraisal just makes the most sense to determine value. The council action points would be, first of all, considering a resolution. So each request will come before you with a resolution to approve the disposition. At that time, if there's any additional conditions that you would like to impose as part of the sale or the disposing of the property, like if you want to limit certain improvements within that requested area, that could be done at the time of the resolution. And then if it is separated from a larger parcel, another item you all might see would be a plat approval to subdivide or split off a piece from the larger parcel. This is what the procedure would look like. So we have a couple that have submitted requests already. So we would get those from the adjacent property owners in the form of a request. We'd do the administrative review to make sure it meets that qualities of a small or narrow strip of land. If it's not, it would need to follow the appropriate process, either right-of-way or auction if it is able to be used. Next, we do the applicability review, and then from that, the value method. Once staff has done the administrative review, we'd have the city attorney's office review our documents and make sure we're moving ahead in the correct path. From there, you would see it either in executive session or as a resolution. The council consideration of the resolution, if that's approved, then the applicant would provide the plat or survey to describe the area. We'd move to closing and then approval of the plat. So it's a lot of steps. I think as we get through the first one, it'll make more sense, but really this set the boundaries of what staff needs to look at the ones that have been submitted. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Great. Any questions for Sarah? No? Thank you, Sarah. Any public comment?
There are none, sir.
Okay, I'll open it for a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda item 24-131.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Cranmer and a second from Councilor Jacobus to approve agenda item number 24-131. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Will City Clerk please on the next item?
That next item is C, Consideration of a resolution of the City of Milton supporting an application to the Atlanta Regional Commission for funding of intersection improvements to State Route 372 at Birmingham Highway at Batesville Road. It's agenda item number 24132. Our Public Works Director, Ms. Sarah Leaders.
Okay, the Atlanta Regional Commission currently has a call for projects. They do these every couple years, and it's a way that the federal funding can come in through the Atlanta Regional Commission, and they can distribute to local governments as requested. So we have a couple projects we've identified that we'd like to submit for a funding request. The first one is State Route 372 at Batesville Road. Because this is on a state route, it's going to be very beneficial to go after federal money on that. It will ensure the coordination and the allocation of funds that we would work very closely with Georgia DOT on the study and the permitting of an improvement at this location. We have this request estimated at $4 million. We're requesting all phases of the project. ARC could elect to just give us design money initially or design in right-of-way, but we're going to request the entire project through this call, and this would be our first priority project for the city funds. And I can either go through the next two as well, or as those agenda items are read.
Yeah, we can go ahead and you have them all lined up ready. I do have a question on this one. So how does this affect the Triple Crown entry and exit?
So our first choice here and what we looked at with our transportation plan was a roundabout does seem like a good fit here. And that would allow Triple Crown to not need to make the left. They could make a quick right, use the roundabout to head south on Birmingham Highway. And
Sarah?
so this is,
Hey, Sarah.
Yes.
Question. What's our success rate in applying for these funds? Is it pretty good?
we have been successful in, I believe, every call we've applied for. So we got
Wow.
Big Creek Greenway connection money. The first, they just gave us design money. And then in the next call, they gave us right-of-way and construction money for about $8 million,
Wow.
8 to 10 million.
That's great.
Sarah, you might go through this, but once funds are approved, what is the timeline? Because I know this one's an important one for the Triple Crown neighborhood and for anyone traveling up and down that Birmingham Highway Batesville intersection. What's the timeline then to complete it once we receive funding?
So they would program it in the next funding year, and the federal calendar is a July 1 to July 1. So we'd be hopefully looking at funding in July of 2025.
Okay. Thank you.
So this is looking north from 372, looking north and looking south. It currently has a left turn lane, but we have both congestion and safety concerns with this location. So a roundabout would address all the concerns there. Another project that came up on our transportation plan was looking at a partnership project at 372 at New Bullpen. The dynamics of this intersection has changed now that there is a mini roundabout at the Birmingham Crossroads, so it's becoming more difficult for that New Bullpen traffic to enter onto Birmingham Highway. So we're requesting to study this one. Not sure if it's going to be simply turn lanes, possibly a better alignment, or possibly a mirrored mini roundabout similar to what's at the Crossroads, just to help with more of a congestion related issue at this location. And the skew is not ideal. So we are requesting $3.5 million for this one. Again, all three phases of the project. This would be our second priority. And that's looking northbound and southbound. And the third item relates to a project that was in the strategic master plan that we just discussed. And it was a project that is both within Milton as well as Alpharetta. So the green highlighted area is the It's a proposed pedestrian connection from Morris Road down to the proposed MARTA station, as well as a segment on Windward Parkway from MARTA to an existing trail network. The True North Fulton, or True North 400, sorry, I'm still getting that name change. They are submitting this request, and they are proposing that they would fund it 100% of the local match. We would just be looking at a resolution to support their application because a portion is within the city of Milton. So it would provide a good connection from Morris Road and future developments and improvements on Morris to get down to, again, to this new MARTA station, as well as the pedestrian amenities along Windward Parkway. So we're not asking for any money on this one, just to support the project and support the application by True North 400. This is the area within Milton looking towards Windward Parkway. Currently just a vacant parcel. And this is a roundabout that exists behind some of the developments there on Windward. And so it would be utilizing kind of this area to connect over to Morris Road. All right, I could be glad to answer any questions on any of the items.
Any other questions for Sarah? Okay, any public comment?
There are none.
Okay, I'll close public comment and we'll just do each agenda item at a time. So do I have a motion on agenda item number 24-132?
Make a motion to approve agenda item number 24-132.
Second.
Okay, have a motion from Councilman Jacobus and a second from Councilman Verhoff to approve agenda item number 24-132. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Will City Clerk say on the next item?
That next item is consideration of a resolution of the City of Milton supporting an application to the Atlanta Regional Commission for funding of intersection improvements to State Route 372, Birmingham Highway at New Bullpen Road. Agenda item number 24-133.
Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay, I open it for a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda item 24-133.
Second.
Okay, have a motion from Councilor Cranmer and a second from Councilor Verhoff to approve agenda item number 24-133. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Will City Clerk please say on the next item?
E is consideration of a resolution of the City of Milton supporting an application to the Atlanta Regional Commission for funding of trail improvements along Windward Parkway and Old Milton Road. Agenda item number 24-134.
Okay, any public comment?
There are none.
Okay, open it for a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda item number 24-134.
Second.
Okay, have a motion from Councilor Jacobus and a second from Councilor Johnson to approve agenda item number 24-134. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Will City Clerk please say on the next item?
That next item F is consideration of a land acquisition agreement between the City of Milton and Crescent Communities LLC, formerly known as Crescent Communities 2 LLC, for purchase of realty of 21.38 acres located at 300 Deerfield Parkway. Is parcel 22-5280-104-70262 at a purchase price of $8 million. It's agenda item number 24-135. Our Parks and Rec Director, Mr. Tom McElveen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What I have for your consideration this evening is the approval of a land acquisition agreement to acquire 21.37 acres of land off Deerfield Parkway on the east side of the city. This particular property would be utilized for future parks expansion. The acquisition of this property, once again, is supported by multiple council-approved planning documents. The 2027 Comprehensive Parks and Recreation Master Plan called for an additional 40 to 60 acres of active space be developed to accommodate Milton's population and level of service demands. Additionally, land acquisition is supported by the city's strategic plan under Priority 3, Goal 1, to develop and maintain active park spaces and facilities where all Milton residents can enjoy recreational opportunities. Finally, the comprehensive plan, short-term work program called to begin the process to acquire land for active park space in accordance with the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. In tonight's presentation, I'll go over a quick overview of the property, where it's located, and the details of the land acquisition agreement. Here, I'd like to orient you with where the property sits within the city limits. On this map, the The property is circled in blue. It sits very close to Windward Parkway, Highway 9, and is nestled nicely in the city's Deerfield corridor near a lot of the city's denser population. This map zooms us in a bit to give you a better idea of where exactly this property sits within the Deerfield corridor. You're able to see its close proximity to Highway 9, Windward Parkway, and much of the city's commercial properties. The physical address of this property is 300 Deerfield Parkway. Here are a couple of zoomed in aerial shots. The map on the left shows neighboring and adjacent properties, and the graphic on the right shows the property outlined in green. The addition of this 20+ acres would create flexibility when master planning the future of our active park system. It's worth noting that while there's a lot of tree canopy, none of this property is located in floodplain. Staff is currently engaging with a parks planning consultant to provide the city with high-level site analysis, feasibility study, and estimated construction costs of a potential park. The results of this will provide the city with material that will socialize throughout the community, whether it be the Parks and Rec Advisory Board and perhaps back to council. This will all be done during the due diligence period that the city has. Up next, we'll go into the details of the contract. The sale price of this property is $8 million, equating to a little over $374,000 per acre. The city will have a 90-day due diligence period. During this time, staff will secure experts in addition to the parks planning consultant to perform environmental assessments, title work surveys, etc. If all checks out during due diligence, the closing date would occur within 30 days of the conclusion of due diligence. And that concludes my presentation. Mayor?
All right, questions for Tom? During this 90-day due diligence, are we going to hire a firm to kind of look at what we can fit there and what's going to make the most sense? What's the cost analysis and all of that?
Exactly. Yeah, we'll do a feasibility study and a site analysis to see what would fit, looking at topo and stormwater and everything else.
Okay.
And then from there, we'll get actual conceptual sketches that we can bring back to our Parks and Rec Advisory Board. They can look at it, pick it apart, and then we actually get one revision as well.
Okay, good. So we basically have 90 days to do all this to see if this makes sense.
And that will fit in the timeframe. No problem.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. I'll open it with a motion.
Mayor, we do have a public
Oh,
comment
sorry,
on this.
sorry.
I
Absolutely.
invite David Jackson to the podium, please.
The one time I don't ask for public comment.
Sorry to hold y'all up. David Jackson, 2055 Bethany Way. Mayor, council, thank y'all for what you do. We really appreciate it. This park in this location, I think, is ideal. As far as access for everybody, people are coming through that location anyway. I think it's just a great opportunity for the city. I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with a dad who's coaching baseball at Hopewell, and they're not even practicing on a baseball field. So the fact that we need more parks is apparent, and I appreciate y'all taking up this motion. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comment?
That concludes public comment.
Okay, I'll close public comment. Yes, I believe this is a big deal because it kind of shows us, that we're committed to, one, providing active park for this growing community, and two, investing in the Deerfield Highway 9 area. And we're serious about that. So it's good. I'll open it for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 24-135.
Second.
Okay, have a motion from Councilmember Kramer and a second from Councilmember Jacobus to approve agenda item number 24-135. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Well, City Clerk, next is Mayor and Council reports. Only thing I guess we have the report on is Milton First Responders Foundation had a wonderful concert on the green last week, over the weekend. Councilmember Haney was there. Won a couple auction prizes, so it was good. But it was always great to see the support, and I think they raised a lot of money to a wonderful police and fire department we have. With that, I will have a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss personnel, land acquisition, and potential litigation. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn into executive session.
Second.
Okay, have a motion from Councilmember Verhoff and a second from Councilmember Johnson to adjourn into executive session. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
So be it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. That's Jacobus and Verhoff.